The Intercollegiate
Psychedelics Network.
Hi, I'm Rain. I'm a dual degree MSW MFA at Penn, and today I'm going to be talking about photography as a therapeutic modality following psychedelic-assisted therapy. So just going over the agenda for today, we're going to talk about current integration challenges, the significance of photographs, photo taking as an integration activity, and then the implications of the research. So to start, what is integration? So integration is a process in which a person revisits and actively engages in making sense of, working through, translating, and processing the content of their psychedelic experience. Through intentional effort and supportive practices, this process allows one to gradually capture and incorporate the emergent lessons and insights into their lives, thus moving toward greater balance and wholeness, both internally and externally. So as I go through the presentation, it'll begin to become more clear what some current integration practices and activities are, and also how photography might fit into this. Okay, so current integration challenges. After a psychedelic experience, individuals report feeling a lack of support, disconnection from community, post-ecstatic blues, and spiritual bypass. So I wanted to mention that there's a difference between therapeutic photography and phototherapy. Much of this research was pioneered by Judy Weiser, and she says that therapeutic photography is self-initiated and doesn't require formal training or a therapist or counselor. This doesn't invalidate it. It's still really powerful. This is primarily what I've been using when I work in groups and with individuals, but it is something that is just fundamentally different from phototherapy, which is a counseling technique used by trained mental health professionals as part of their therapeutic practice. Why is photography a viable medium for healing? So photography can facilitate an individual's ability to recognize and express emotions, which promotes self-understanding. It's been proven to increase mindfulness, creativity, self-efficacy, and disclosure. It's accessible. Participants can use a smartphone camera. Most people have taken at least one photo in their life, or at least everyone has seen a photo, so it's something that we can all talk about. And it also aligns with the ineffable experience of psychedelics. So as for the psychotherapeutic significance of photos, I like this quote by Ansel Adams, which says, "Forget what it looks like, how does it feel?" And even though there are, so many formalities to a photograph and entire fields of study in how to take a photo correctly, a lot of what photos are about is the feeling, and that's what this type of work, both therapeutic photography and phototherapy, focuses on. It's more about the emotions and responses that photos elicit and the memories that come up, or what the act of photographing can do for someone. So Mark Wheeler wrote this important essay called Photopsychopraxis in 2009, and he talks about the psychological aesthetics of all photographs. But in the therapeutic context of photography, he refers to it as photo, which is light, the syntax of photography, the individual photon striking film, sensor, or retina. Psycho, which is psychology, or the aesthetic of the aesthetic experience. And that's what I was talking about. So the phenomenology of every encounter with an image, and then praxis, which is the practice of making, viewing, and thinking. Okay, so how guided photo taking may impact integration. Another important author in the field, Susan Sontag, says, All such talismanic uses of photographs express a feeling both sentimental and implicitly magical. They are attempts to contact or lay claim to another reality. So the act of photo taking can increase mindfulness in connection with one's own body. The taker can also manipulate settings and can manipulate what's in and out of the frame, which for some people can help if they're lacking agency in their lives. And then also it can be ritualistic and can help to emphasize a routine. So I've had students in the past who do projects where they photograph everything that they do in a day, and they photograph each step of their routine, which helps them to emphasize things that otherwise seem mundane. Photo viewing, on the other hand, can help people process past experiences. Photos are tied up with memory, connection with life and death, and the understanding and unraveling of fact and fiction. Another thing I wanted to talk about is how we can use photos in a group setting. So primarily in my own work, that's what I've done, is, design photo activities for people to do during the week. And then when we come back together as a group, they're talking about them together. And as the facilitator, I've sort of taken a step back and let people really share their photos and talk about the significance in their own life and what that felt like to do the activities. And so I wanted to share a few testimonials from past groups that I facilitated. So someone said, showing my photos lets me show the group without telling. So I've had a lot of people say this or something similar to this. And I think that for people who've gone through something traumatic or, like I said before, ineffable, like a psychedelic experience, it can be really difficult to put things into words. So photos can help bridge that gap. Someone else said, photographing my daily life as a caregiver allows me to appreciate the tasks that I do every day. It helps me emphasize the mundane. So as I mentioned before, this was after that a day in my life activity where a caregiver who's taking care of her husband who has dementia was, excuse me, was taking photos of the things that she did every day that had started to become really bleak and uninspiring for her. But then when she took photos, she realized what her role was and she felt important again. And then someone else said, sometimes I can relate better to people when they show me their photos. I see the world through their eyes. So this is another important thing for people to feel that connection, because as I mentioned, after psychedelic experience, people have shared that they feel a disconnection from community. So I believe that this method can sort of help people to find that connection again. So there are many integration models and studies coming out, which is really exciting. One that I found that sort of felt aligned with some of the stuff that I'm talking about is called ACE, which stands for Accept, Connect, and Embody, by Watts and Luoma. And so with this method, they suggest that the client starts with accepting, letting go, sensing and feeling, and then connecting. So sort of going deep and then connecting back up into the world, and setting intentions, and then from there embodying. And that's more of the integration aspect of bringing the experience back into your everyday life. So I think that designing photo activities that align with this method, and like I said, there are many integration methods. This is just one that stuck out to me, but I think that if activities could be designed to sort of parallel some of this thinking, then that could be a really powerful way for people to integrate their experiences. And in that same article, they mentioned some other integration activities that have had success. Here's just a few of them listed. And this is just to show that there's such a variety and diversity of activities that people can participate in after a psychedelic experience to integrate what they've seen and what they've felt. And I think photography could be added to this list. Okay, so moving forward, what does all of this mean, and how could it actually come into the real world? So I think that developing a holistic integration model that incorporates photo activities is needed. I would like to facilitate sessions with clients who are looking to integrate their experiences through the use of photography. So some people already have a practice in photography or a passion or an interest, and starting to explore that even through, like I said, like using your smartphone to take photos can start that process. And then finding the balance between photo taking and viewing. So what I mean by this is, in a group setting or working with an individual, these things can complement each other really nicely. But some people prefer to take a ton of photos and just be in that experience, and, learn more about composition and how to arrange a photo and more of the formalities of photography, while others are really interested in viewing photos, looking at family archives, and reliving experiences or thinking about memory or honoring people who aren't here. But there is a balance between the two that's really important. And so usually when I'm working in a group, I structure it so that there's a mix of activities where people are taking photos and are using a camera, but then they're also bringing photos. And some people might not have access to photos from their past, so they can also just share what they've taken throughout the week. And once the group setting and the container is formed, then people over time feel more comfortable sharing and talking about their photos. And I've had students who we've only met on Zoom, but then they get really comfortable with each other and they'll meet up if they live nearby and help each other take photos and go on photo walks together and things like that. So again, emphasizing that group connection and community connection is really vital with this. And then lastly, expanding this work into a training program so that others can bring the power of photography to their specific settings. Awesome. Well, here are some references. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.